Good afternoon and welcome to the International Falls City Council meeting for Tuesday, September the 3rd, 2019. I would ask all present to please arise and pledge allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. City Administrator would ask that you would note the roll call with all members of the council present. Move to the agenda. Your approval of the council's pleasure with the agenda, please.
So move.
Motion by Councilor Kraus to approve.
Second.
Second by Councilor Deitch. Discussion on the motion or the agenda? Hearing none, question?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
I would vote yes. Motion is carried. Agenda is approved. Thank you. Move to the minutes of the August 19 Committee of the Whole meeting. That was with the consultant on the comprehensive plan. Council's pleasure with those minutes.
Move to accept the minutes.
Motion by Councilor Buller to accept the minutes.
I'll second.
Second by Councilor Droba. Discussion? Question?
Aye. 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 Aye.
I would vote yes. Motion is carried. Minutes for the August 19 Committee of the Whole is approved. And then the regular City Council meeting of August 19.
Move to accept.
Motion by Councilor Kraus. Second by Councilor Buller. Discussion on the motion or the minutes? Question?
Aye. 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 Aye.
And I would vote yes. Motion is carried. The minutes for the regular City Council meeting of August 19 are approved. And then lastly, we have the minutes of Monday, August the 22nd, a special City Council meeting to consider the second reading of the ordinance on the bid, accepting the bid for bituminous work.
Move to accept.
Motion by Councilor Buller.
Second.
Second by Councilor Droba. Questions or discussion? Question?
Aye. 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 Aye.
And I would vote yes. And that approves the minutes for the special meeting of August the 19th. Thank you. We'll move to the resolution on transfers and payment of claims. And to the General Fund 101 from the Lodging Tax Fund, we have $729.71. The City of International Falls regular claims of $142,904.28. Airport Commission claims of $50,688.04. Airport Commission Terminal Project Phase 2 claims of $72,835.37. Airport Reconstruction, Runway Reconstruction Project Phase 1 claims of $1,472,695.72. Runway Reconstruction Project Phase 2 claims of $106,958. And then Phase 3 of the runway reconstruction, $1,060. Your pleasure with the resolution approving the transfers and the payment of claims.
Motion.
Motion by Councilor Deitch to adopt the resolution.
Second.
Second by Councilor Kraus. Questions or discussions with regard to the transfers, payment of claims, or the resolution? Hearing none, question.
Aye. 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 Aye.
I would vote yes. Motion is carried. Resolution is adopted, approving the transfers and the payment of claims. Thank you. We'll go to the audience. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to approach the council at this time? Please.
Hi, I'm Joan Christensen, and I wanted to alert the City council of a presentation that Indivisible is putting on in regard to climate change. I'm sure everyone here has heard about the effects of climate change. For example, the Amazon is on fire right now, and probably heard about sea rise on our coast, but we don't really hear much about its effects on our local area. And that's what our presentation is going to be about, is the climate change effects on northern Minnesota. Now, if you're like me, you might think global warming has been very good to International Falls. I mean, after all, this August has been just beautiful. This has been the nicest and warmest August I've ever experienced, and I've been living here 23 years. But the future climate effects are not going to be so good. There's going to be negative effects on logging, fishing, healthcare, for example. So this presentation is an opportunity to learn about what those effects are and the economics of it, as well as climate solutions. Let me just hand out a flyer here.
Thank you, Kenneth.
The presenter is Katia Gordon, who is an outfitter in Grand Marais, and she has been in this business for several years. She does charters that focus on youth trips and climate change. She's also a member of the Grand Marais Citizens Climate Lobby, which is an international grassroots environmental group with a goal of influencing climate policy. And as an outfitter, she knows personally about the effects of climate warming that are occurring even now on the northern Minnesota environment. So the presentation is going to be on Wednesday, September 25th at 6:30, and it will be at Holy Trinity Episcopal Church, which is at 820 4th Street. Don't have to register for it. It's free, and all are welcome. So I encourage you to at least have one representative from the council to attend this, and to let other people in the community know about it. Any questions about this?
Questions for Ms. Christensen?
Okay.
Very good. Thank you for being here this evening.
Thank you, John.
Any of the flyers left?
You could reclaim this one if you want.
Okay.
I looked at it.
Well, keep it.
Oh, okay.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. Further on the audience, anyone wishes to approach the council that's not on the agenda? There's another opportunity at the close of the meeting for audience participation. We'll move to new business, and we have the mayoral proclamation declaring September 16th through the 22nd, 2019, Career Force Week in the city of International Falls, and there'll be an open house on September 19th. Ms. Hackenmuller, please.
Thank you, Mayor Anderson. So, thank you for having me. I just want to ask a quick question. What do you think of when you think of the Workforce Center? What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Jobs.
Jobs. Me?
Resume building.
Okay.
Jobs.
Jobs?
Jobs.
Jobs?
Jobs.
Jobs? What are you guys?
Jobs.
Okay, well, we're getting somewhere. Usually when I ask this question, people say, well, it's the unemployment office. Have you all heard that before? The unemployment office. And what's happening in the state of Minnesota is, seriously, across the entire state, is the Workforce Center is one of our best kept secrets, meaning very few people know what we do, who we are, what our purpose is. And so with that in mind, DEED, the Department of Employment and Economic Development, went forward and secured some funding, and we did over a year-long process of researching what does our population think of the Workforce Center? Do we do a good job or a bad job? What do we do? What do people think we do? And so what came out of that is this rebranding process, and we have a new name called Career Force. So in the middle of September, at some point, you will see new signage along Highway 53 attached to the Rainy River Community College sign that will say Career Force. We already have the new signage up on the building itself, and we're slowly but surely changing everything within the Workforce Center over to Career Force. Well, so a big movie, we have a new name, right? What does that include? Well, across the state, we are training our employees to provide a more unified customer service. And we just really want to increase our efficiency and improve communication statewide. One of the biggest things that came out of this was we created a careerforcemn.com website. I would encourage you all to visit it. Within the workforce centers, the workforce center is essentially just a building. And within the workforce center, there are multiple employment agencies, such as my office, the Northeast Minnesota Office of Job Training. We lease space to be able to provide the services that we provide. And that's really confusing. So the whole idea behind launching this website is to bring all of those services under one hat, CareerForce at careerforceadmin.com, and it doesn't matter what agency does what, you'll find all the services under that website. So what we're hoping to do with this proclamation is to declare it Career Force Week in International Falls. And every year at this time, we want to come back and host some employer events. As a city council, you guys are all familiar with the struggles that our businesses are having. Some of them are closing, some of them are struggling to find workers. And we want to use this week as an opportunity to every year promote what we do and highlight what our businesses are needing and what services I can provide to job seekers. So that's what we're doing. So not only am I here to hopefully get this proclamation passed for the week of, I don't even know how often was that?
September 16th.
September 16th.
Yes.
To be Career Force Week, but I'm also inviting you to attend our open house. With the rebrand and rollout, we were given some funds to redo our workforce center space. And so our goal was to take it from a really cold office feeling to something that's really homey and inviting. And I would love for you all to come out and check us out. That'll be on Thursday the 19th from 11 to 1. We worked really hard at it, and I can tell you that all the employees there put in some time. They all picked up a paintbrush and painted to save some money and spend it on other things that would be better use. So, any questions about what we're doing?
Questions for Ms. Hackenmuller?
You all should have gotten an email from me today inviting you.
Yes.
Okay, good deal. And I have copies if anybody needs copies, but I hope to see you all there.
Very good. Council's pleasure with the proclamation then?
So moved.
Motion by Councilor Kraus. Second by Councilor Buller to approve the proclamation and have it published. I guess I would just draw attention to the second whereas in that, and I was, I guess, certainly noticed your word recommitment, and I think what you explained here was very much that. It sounds like a real recommitment to the citizens of Minnesota in having that career force, and I love the name. I think it's very, very well chosen. Yes.
Right. We get a little bit of flack because we're not straying far from Workforce Center, but it was really fleshed out with different focus groups, and that's what came out on top. So one of the biggest things behind the Workforce Center and this rebranding is a lot of people assume it's for low-income individuals, the Workforce Center, but really we strive to serve businesses. We get calls from businesses every week, and we want to be the agency that can be your talent matching resource, right, for job seekers and businesses. So if you're out there and you have a need, give us a call.
Well, and City Administrator, may I call on you, please, to share the fact that the city does utilize the Career Force Center?
Absolutely, Mayor, Council. One of the things that we utilize the Career Force services is assisting us when we're seeking employees for vacancies in our workforce, and so what we do is we do publish an advertisement in the local newspaper. We often use the League of Minnesota Cities, but we make all the applications available at the Career Force Center, or the Workforce Center formerly, and all the people that want to try and pick up a application form, they pick it up there, they leave it there, and then all we have to do is stop by and pick it up when we close that. So they've been very helpful and instrumental in assisting us in finding a good number of qualified employees for our vacancies.
And the nice thing about that is we can remind people who wouldn't otherwise come to the Workforce Center or to Career Force that we have interviewing workshops, resume writing workshops. Sometimes they'll turn in their packet for the city especially, and you have a lot of information on the front end stapled to it that really is for the job seeker, and the city doesn't want to see that back. And so if I were the city and I were receiving those applications, I'd see that and say, well, this person didn't follow directions very well. And if we can help educate job seekers on some of those little faux pas, they'll be more likely to hopefully get an interview and find some work in the community.
Great. Further questions or discussion from the council?
Keep up the great work.
Thanks.
If not, Chair would call a question.
Yay. Aye.
Aye. And I would vote yes. Motion is carried. Proclamation is approved, and it will be in the newspaper.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Please.
I just have one comment before Alyssa leaves. She serves as a member of our local drug court team, the Borderline Substance Abuse Court, and since she became active with her assistance in a number of the people in our program, matching good work for them is critical. And Alyssa's been a great resource for doing that, and the whole Workforce Center is wonderful, but I think a lot of it the public doesn't understand, and they don't know, and I've been here 43 years, and I was amazed at how much help they do with resume building and finding jobs, and it's more than, I think when I first came here, we referred to it as the unemployment office.
People still refer to it as that. That's a big problem across the entire state.
Very good.
Keep up the good work. I mean, you're doing a great job. Yeah.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Ms. Hackenmuller. We'll go to item 2 under new business. It's an additional mayoral proclamation declaring September 22nd to the 28th as National Rail Safety Week on behalf of the Canadian National Rail 100th anniversary and our local Minnesota, Dakota, and Western Shortline Railroad that's here. Council's pleasure with the proclamation.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Councillor Deitch to approve the proclamation.
I'll second.
Second by Councillor Droba. Discussion on the motion or the proclamation? Question?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And I would vote yes. Motion is carried and proclamation is approved. Thank you. Item 3 under new business is the League of Minnesota Cities has recognized our state representative Rob Eklund, District 3A, as a legislator of distinction. And they provided us with that letter. It's an information piece, but I would think it would be a good move on the part of the City Council to have a letter of congratulations and thank you sent to our state representative.
I would make that motion to send a letter.
Okay. Motion by Councillor Deitch.
I'll second.
Second by Councillor Kraus to send a letter of thanks and congratulations to State Representative Rob Eklund. Further questions or discussion? Question?
Aye.
Aye.
And I would vote yes. Motion is carried and letter will be sent. Thank you. Item number 4 under new business is a resolution modifying the loan payment schedule that's paid by the Couchiching Economic Development Authority for the 2017 coal box construction project. City Administrator, do you want to touch on that resolution at all?
Thank you, Mayor. Council, As the mayor indicated, we received a letter. It was dated August 21st from the director of KEDA, and they've indicated that due to unforeseen changes in their customer payment schedules and their reimbursements for a loan that we had issued a couple years ago, that they would like the payment delayed from the date of November 1st each year, which is what the current payment date is, and this year they would like to extend that to December 31st of 2019. And so that payment is in the amount of about $39,000, and they're requesting a delay in having to make that payment to both the City of International Falls and Coochin County, which has a like amount in a loan. Those two loans, both from the county and the city, were used as matching funds to secure funds, grant funds from DEED, and that allowed us to do some expansion of the cold box back in 2017, I believe it was, at our cold box facility. So they're asking for roughly a 60-day delay in making that loan payment.
Thank you. Maybe just for the council's understanding, Councilor Droba and I were at that meeting. The KEDA Executive Board of Directors approved requesting that, and the reason is that the KEDA does not receive any money from the county or the city for its operation, and we do get monies from the IRRR, and so that generally comes sometime later in November or December, and so this would help the cash flow situation if they could have that payment made at the end of the year. Councilor Droba, you have?
Well, and as I recall, there was also a conversation at that meeting about sending out a letter to the city and the county, letting them know about the financial situation of what KEDA's in, and then possibly foregoing a payment in 2020, possibly depending on where they're at. However, that's a conversation that will probably be moving down the road, but the financial situation over there has, for the first time, become a little dire. The upside, though, is it's not monies that the city or the county would have to put into KEDA. It's just monies that we would not receive back. So it would be a form of payment. We just wouldn't be receiving money back from a loan. But as of right now, the conversation is just delaying the payment.
Council's pleasure then with that resolution modifying the payment schedule.
Move to accept.
Motion by Councilor Kraus.
I'll second.
Second by Councilor Droba. Questions or discussion with regard to the motion or the loan payment schedule? Hearing none, question?
Aye.
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 I would vote yes. Motion is carried. Resolution is adopted, approving modifying the loan payment schedule. Thank you. Item number 5 is a resolution approving and authorizing signatures for the International Falls Coochin County Airport Commission for the 2019 federal grant agreement. You have that resolution and the funds that would be received. The total that project is $16,708,643.61.
So moved.
Motion by Councilor Droba to adopt the resolution.
Second.
Second by Councilor Deitch. Questions or discussion with regard to the resolution or the federal grant, which is 95% of the project cost? Hearing none, question?
Aye.
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 And I would vote yes. Motion is carried. Resolution is adopted, approving the federal grant agreement and authorizing the signatures. Thank you. Item number 6 under new business is to consider a 3-year preventive maintenance contract for the ambulance striker equipment. Chief Panassa, did you want to speak to that, please?
Thank you, Mayor. The contract you have before you is a preventative maintenance agreement from Stryker Equipment. It's for a 3-year term. The contract is not complete at this point. It's to cover all of our Stryker equipment and our ambulances. I've been working with the rep to add 4 items to this. So right now, this current contract includes the power lift cots and the power loads that lift the cots into the stretchers. We also have Stryker stair chairs. We have 1 of each, and so we have 4 total, 1 in each ambulance. Those would also be added to the preventative maintenance schedule. We're unsure of the cost difference at this point in time. Again, waiting for the rep to get back to us. So what this really is for us is when we bought the Stryker equipment, the power loads and power lift stretchers, they come with warranty. Those are now out of warranty. This equipment is not unlike anything else in the fire ambulance. It does need yearly servicing. To get that done through Stryker, we have to enter into a contract agreement to do so. I did not include the 3 other options that came with this. This is the least expensive, probably best option for our service. The top one would scare you. It did me. So this is probably the most cost-effective way to get done what we need to get done to do our annual maintenance on that equipment and service on that equipment. One of the things with Stryker is we do have the opportunity from time to time to send personnel to get trained on very menial maintenance of the equipment. They do not offer those classes very often. This would take care of that in the interim and go above and beyond that and send up a certified technician to work on the equipment. This, I should say, this does cover preventative maintenance only, so any fixes, repairs that have to be done, we would be responsible for parts on that and then labor fix. This is the basic preventative maintenance program that they have. So it would be the aligning of the tracks, the servicing, cleaning, greasing, that kind of thing, but basically to make everything line up and work properly. Again, a lot of electronic switches and stuff for alignment that make those work correctly. So that's what this covers.
Very good. Chair, the council's pleasure with this? We should have a motion first to approve.
I'll move to approve.
Okay, motion by Councillor Kraus to approve the 3-year preventive maintenance contract.
A second.
Second by Councillor Buller. Councillor Buller, please.
Done once a year, annually?
Once a year, yep, annual.
Now,
3 years.
this cost does not include the chairs, it says, right?
It does not include the chairs at this time, so this cost could change a little bit. I guess I don't know how to say this other than bluntly. The stair chairs are not, there's no electronics to them. They're a fairly simple device, so I can't see the expense going out a whole lot for the 4 stair chairs, but I'm sure there will be an added expense.
That you going to return to ask for that, or are we approving just this?
I think the way Ken had it worded is to approve with changes, reasonable changes. Again, I've been in contact with the rep Friday back and forth. I was supposed to get a new amended contract on Friday afternoon. I did not receive that Friday, and I haven't received it today, so I've been having a hard time getting that hammered down.
Mayor.
Please, City Administrator.
If I may add, in the cover memo that the chief and I had initialed regarding this, and under action requested, I've identified approving it. And again, it would be subject to getting a quoted price for the 4 stair chairs, which we don't have as yet. The cost is $7,764 for the power load and the 4 power cots. And as the chief indicated, the stair chairs are relatively more simplistic, but I've identified 4 conditions, the last being that adding the cost for that would be subject to the fire chief's discretion to be included or deleted. So if it's an outrageous number, we could delete the stair chairs or come back at a future council meeting. But I've identified 4 different conditions to the approval under that action requested, and we'll have the record reflect the approval is subject to those 4 unless the council wants to do something differently.
Okay, questions on the part of the council? Councilor Kraus, please.
Chief, and that is that a one-time or is that a yearly deal?
This is once a year for the next 3 years.
Okay.
This particular contract, it did have a 5-year service plan, preventative maintenance plan. It didn't seem cost effective. There wasn't a discount for adding years.
Sure.
It just didn't work out mathematically. So I think this was the best option to go. If we choose to renew this after 3 years, we're not any worse than signing the 5-year at this point.
Okay.
Councilor Droba, please.
You had given us the options in our budget and finance meeting that we had last week. You kind of went over it. But this was something that you had in your next year's budget. Is there a pressing issue to get it now in September rather than just waiting till next year? Because we should have already been accredited or whatever for this year.
There is. We went off of, we looked into this. We had an issue with one of our power loads back in July. I could not get a rep up here. We were out of warranty at July or before. I cannot get a rep up here from Stryker until a contract is signed. So we do have one that is giving us issues. We've been able to temporarily fix it to make it work, but it continues to have issues. So yes, time is of the essence on this.
So are we going to break this down between 3 years on the budget, have some of it come out of this year and then some next year, or how are we paying it? Are we doing it out of this calendar year, out of your budget?
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, yes, if we sign the agreement, then the payment would be due out of effective this year's budget, and then we'll budget for this amount for next year. We could, as part of budgeting, we could put additional monies in next year's budget to repay us for what we took out of this year's budget, but it was unbudgeted to date.
Correct, but it's a 3-year contract for the
Right.
7,000.
Right.
Okay.
With an effective date of September 1st.
So you have money in,
In a year.
No, 7,000 for the 3 years.
It is for 3 years. Sorry, I misunderstood you. Okay.
but you have money in your maintenance category right now for, so
And that's the only reason I ask, is because if we were budgeting for next year and now we're spending it this year, there's no reason to budget for next.
We do have money in our accounts that would cover for this year's expense, and then we want to budget so that that is a regular expense for the years to come.
It's once every 3 years that we pay it, correct?
Correct.
So we're
Lay
going
that money aside,
okay, I got you.
figuring for that.
So that we're budgeting for what it'll be in 3 years. Gotcha, thank you.
further questions or discussion? Hearing none, question?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
I would vote yes. Motion is carried. 3-year preventive maintenance contract with ambulance Stryker equipment is approved. Thank you. Thanks, Chief.
I would like to add just one
Yes.
for consideration to Mr. Drove's comment, just to clear this up a little bit. A power load and a cot combination was, I believe, $46,000, so times 4. So this is very good money spent on the maintenance of that equipment.
Very helpful. Thank you. Anything further under new business? Now we'll go to reports of boards, committees, and department heads. City Administrator, please.
Thank you, Mayor. A few things briefly. First, I wanted to just point out that I had distributed a notice that we received via email this morning from a company called Transformco. Transformco is the new owner of the Kmart stores, and they informed the city that they will be closing the store at the location here in town at 1606 Highway 1171. And that closing will be permanent, effective on or about December 15th. And so I just wanted the council to be advised of that. I had done a little bit of research online and came across a story that was in the Star Tribune dated September 2nd, and I included a copy of that to the back of the email, and it talks about the title of it is really related to the metro area, but it says, as fourth St. Paul retailer closes, some ask, where will we shop? Because they're making it sound like it's a retail desert down in St. Paul, which is a large, or very large city in the community, but they've seen Herberger's closed and Sears closed, and now this Kmart, and so they're kind of concerned about the shopping options for people who need to make affordable purchases. So I wanted to draw that to the council's attention. It's obviously disturbing news for our local community and area, and I'm sure that we're going to do all we can to try and assist anybody who might be interested in relocating some kind of a retail operation into that vacant building when it does become vacant towards the end of the year. So.
Very good, thank you.
A few other things then for council information. I did receive notification last week. The DNR actually happens to have an open house that they're holding at the Cook Community Center, and that's going to be from 6 to 8 p.m. tomorrow, September 4th. Again, that's at the Cook Community Center, and the topic of the public open house is to discuss the update to the master plan for the David Dill Arrowhead Trail System, and that actually runs in St. Louis County and Koochiching County. It starts or terminates at the Blue Ox Trail just south of International Falls and runs down the Tower. It's a major arterial route, if you will, for the snowmobile trail, but then there's also mixed use at various points throughout the trail. And so if anybody's interested in attending that open house, again, it'll be down at the Cook Community Center tomorrow. So I know the trail system is important for us, and we are a benefactor of a lot of snowmobile traffic in the winter months, and I know that the ATV clubs are interested in trying to do more to try and get access up here to International Falls from existing trail systems south of here. So I'd welcome anybody to go to that meeting if they're interested. I did also want to bring up the fact that we received notification from the League of Minnesota Cities that there's a new FCC ruling that deals with cable franchise fees, and that new rules that they imposed take effect on September 26th. It sounds like that there's going to be some appeal hearings to run through the court system for that, but they're just asking communities that have cable franchise fees, and we do, is that we might want to consider making some changes to our franchise fee agreements, and we might expect to get lesser revenues. Again, this information just came out midweek last week, and there was an update this afternoon. So we haven't appropriately analyzed it to see what the impacts might be here, but I'm bringing it to the council's attention. If if there's some actions that we need to take here in the near future, we'll bring that to the council's attention. And then finally, I've got a request that I met with somebody this afternoon just before 1 o'clock. The individual is objecting to a ambulance fee that they incurred last summer, I believe. And so they've been notified by the Department of Revenue. We've sent it to collections, and it's been sent to the Department of Revenue, and they've given them 45 days to have an appeal considered, and the appeal would be through the city, because the city operates the ambulance department. So that 45 days is up for that individual on September 10th. So I'm asking that the city council consider having a special meeting to consider an appeal from this person because of HIPAA and other data privacy issues. They're asking that the meeting be closed. We're required to have a 72-hour notice before we can conduct any meetings, and so the earliest we could do it would be Friday night or sometime this weekend. The council will be meeting as a Budget and Finance Committee, which is a committee of the whole, on Monday at 3 o'clock, so I don't know if the council would be interested in meeting before that meeting, perhaps an hour earlier to consider this appeal. The individual indicated he would be having legal representation representing his interests, and I would ask that the city attorney be here if he can. And the city attorney's indicated earlier on Monday would be better for him than later. So I'm just asking either for the council to set the meeting or to find a date that's mutually satisfactory for at least a quorum to consider this appeal.
All right, you've heard the request by the city administrator to have a special council meeting, and that would be Monday, September the 9th. And the city attorney, you're going to be leaving the community?
I have an appointment 6:30 Tuesday morning in Rochester. So I'm going to be in the office Monday and had planned on leaving, sometime after lunch to drive down. That's about a 7-hour drive. But if you met at 2, I certainly could attend a 2 o'clock session and then leave afterwards.
Council's pleasure then with the special meeting on Monday, September the 9th?
I'm okay. You guys okay?
2 o'clock or 1:30 or what would be good?
2 o'clock's fine.
2 o'clock.
2 o'clock? Motion
Sure.
by Councilor Kraus to set the special city council meeting to consider the appeal to the city for the ambulance bill for 2 p.m. on Monday, September the 9th.
Second.
Second by Councilor Deitch. Thank you. Questions or discussion? Question.
Aye.
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 I would vote yes. Motion is carried. Special council meeting is set. Thank you.
Mayor, I don't
Further-
have any additional information unless anybody has questions. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, City Administrator. City Attorney?
Nothing special to report, Mayor.
Thank you. Chief Maston?
Nothing to report this evening, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Chief Manassa?
Nothing at this time. Thank you.
And I guess, I don't know if everyone heard your statement before the meeting with regard to the ICO property that,
They were tearing it down this afternoon, yes.
so the building is being removed?
Yeah, they had objected. They filed, legal counsel filed an objection and an answer to our notice to tear it down, but then they've decided to tear it down their own. And I think one of the other three has indicated, verbally at least, that they also intend to tear it down themselves. And I think October 3rd is the hearing date on the other one. Actually, the hearing date on the other two, not the ICO, but the other two, is October 3rd. One was supposed to be tomorrow, but the judge was not available because of some other things, so it had to be moved. So both of those will be on October 3rd.
Very good. Questions for the city attorney? Thank you. There being no other department heads present, we'll move to the reports of the mayor, council committees, boards, and commissions. Please.
Mayor, as head of the Blight Committee, we've got a meeting coming up on the 10th at 4 o'clock here. Blight Committee, all are welcome to come. That being said, a lot of our businesses or commercial buildings and properties are being very well taken care of. There's no doubt about it. But that being said, there's several that are not. And I drive down Highway 53 here into International Falls, and I see the same businesses have not cleaned up their act. They've got weeds growing on their property. They've got trees growing on their property that haven't been trimmed back. Buildings need to be painted, and I've talked to several officials or people that are involved with the city or the city maintenance, and I seem to be spinning my wheels and getting nowhere. I can't see why this hasn't been taken care of. The blight, or if you want to call it the unkempt property, starts at the city limits out there with Friends Garbage, and it goes right down Highway 53. About every other 34th building is not being taken care of. The grass is growing. A prime example is the corner by the pizza place here, Sammy's. That flower planter hasn't been cleaned all year. It's got weeds 4 or 5 feet tall. I look at this and I say, as a city, why aren't we taking care of this? And I have talked to many people and nothing's being done. What's the council's favor on this?
I think it could be just an oversight on that planter. I believe that in the past it had been taken care of by other groups, but certainly the Public Works Department would have to.
Mayor, but I've talked to many people about this planter, and it's going nowhere. It's not just the one planter, that's the most obvious. We had friends that I haven't seen for 30 years that came into town, and they said, yeah, your town is not very attractive. And it is not. We're not taking care of it. I can't see how we let it go down this far, and we're doing nothing to improve it. As I say, we've got a lot of businesses that are doing fine. They're taking care of their property, but we have a lot that just turn their head, and it seems like we're turning our head also. We've got a blight policy in force, and are we enforcing it? Are we doing this?
Well,
I mean, there should be citations issued. They should be going to the city attorney. Have you received any of those?
Not regarding the businesses on 53.
The businesses should be our number one. No ifs, ands, or buts. That is what people see when they come into International Falls. We want to attract people. We want to attract businesses. We don't want people just to fly through and say, no, I'm not stopping here. We are not doing our job.
Well, certainly, I know that with regard to the planters, the city should be setting an example for all businesses, but I certainly understand that there are some that haven't, and I guess I don't know, Chief, can you respond to? I don't know how many letters that have been sent out at this point.
I don't have the number off the top of my head right now. I did receive a call from Councilor Deitch addressing a few businesses. When I checked on those in reference to grass, they've been cut, so I'm not sure exactly, unless you and I want to go for a ride, I'm not sure exactly what you're referencing, so we can...
I would like to take the city council for a ride and look around. I mean, you got to be blind if we're not seeing this stuff. We got to be blind if we're not seeing it.
You're saying we're not doing our job. We just heard the ICO is coming down. We've got other...
I'm not talking about buildings. I'm talking about the grass, the weeds, the unkept property. Buildings are coming down. That's wonderful. I agree 100% with that. But we're not doing our job on keeping this city clean. That's what I ran on, is that we're going to clean this city up. And it's not happening.
Mr. Hang on.
Please, Councilor
Deitch, with all due respect, we just got an email this morning that Kmart's closing. We're going to lose 42 jobs. We have Tim Hortons closed. We've tore down at least one commercial structure this year. I understand that grass and weeds and trees are a problem, but I don't think that that's a deterrent to people being employed in this community, and we've got bigger issues than some weeds and some grass. I don't disagree that it's unsightly, but I don't think it's preventing anybody from patronizing a business if there's weeds growing in the back alley.
So do we turn a blind eye on this? That's what we've been doing for years, and that's what we've been doing since I've been on the council.
I respectfully disagree that we've been turning a blind eye. There's been multiple properties that have been cleaned up.
I'm talking about the weeds, Joe. I'm talking about the blight with the weeds, the brush, the unkept businesses. We can get into other areas also, and I do have another area here, but right now I'm talking about the blight of businesses. This has to be taken care of. We cannot go on like this. I would not move to a town like this that is unkept, and our town is unkept. Okay, that being said, I'm going to roll on to another issue that came up today, and that's the 1300 block of First Avenue East, Main, and First Avenue West. 1300 blocks of those three are a disaster. And I've spoken, and this is in my ward, that's why I'm bringing it up. I've spoken to various individuals about this, and I know some concern has been made and some contact, but once again, looks like nothing's been done.
And I believe that there's notices that have been sent, at least to one of those that I think you referenced.
And has there been follow-up?
I don't know.
I mean, those 3 blocks on the 1300 First Avenue East, 1300 Main, 1300 First Avenue West. It's like a cancer growing. It's just expanding. And we are doing nothing about it. I hate to point fingers and I hate to be upset, but that's what I ran on. And we are not doing our job. Thank you.
Thank you. Further under council committees, boards, and commissions.
Mayor,
please.
Just a brief comment. I share some of the concerns that Councilor Deitch has with our properties, and I know that our fire department as well as other staff have been trying to make a concerted effort to go through our blight protocol to make sure that properties that appear to be non-compliant and non-conforming are notified. And we try to make, it has to be understood that there's some time that we have to allot for various people to remedy whatever particular violations they have on their property. And I understand, and I again share the same concerns. I think in some cases, and we almost have to look at every property on a case-by-case basis. Regarding the planners, that is an item that was brought to my attention by Councilor Deitch, and one of the things I would compliment Sammy's on is they've done a nice job of remodeling and investing in that particular building and that particular site.
Agreed.
And I think that there's probably a little misunderstanding. And I'm not even clear, the planners are in the public right away, but I think a lot of the adjacent businesses take care. They de-weed them and remove them. And we have had groups in the past, and I don't know if is it Project Pride that have taken care of some of those. The city summer help do water the hanging plants that we have in our downtown area, and now that we don't have summer help, fortunately we've had a lot of natural water, but we try to maintain those properties. That the one that you're referencing there might have been one that's overlooked. I did not share your concern specifically with our Public Works Department, and if it's a city responsibility to do that and de-weed it, I can make sure that happens very soon. But as far as getting new plantings in there, we've talked about the Men's Garden Club that hasn't been able to sustain their effort that they've been doing for years and years here in our community. So we've, tried to work to try and find ways to deal with some of those other flower beds that we have at very noticeable locations in our community. So I would agree that more needs to be done, and I appreciate you heightening our awareness to the blight that we have in our community, and it goes beyond just weeds and grass. I mean, there's a lot of outdoor storage, abandoned vehicles, and I'm going to be working closer and more deliberately with our staff to try and address these things, but it takes time. And there seems to be a culture, at least among some members in our community, that this is okay. And if it's an ordinance violation, we need to pursue it. But we also need to give ample opportunity for people to remedy whatever we identify as a non-compliant issue on their property.
Councilor Droba, please.
I guess I share some of the concerns that Councilor Deitch brought up. But on the flip side, I want to give a ton of credit to the Rotary who cleaned up one of our city parks. They went over there, they painted the park over on Riverside, they weeded the sand that was in there, they cleaned, and I didn't think that park looked bad until I saw what it looked like when it looked good. And I'd like to give a huge shout out to Rotary for jumping in and adopting one of our parks and making it look a little bit more beautiful. I also agree that there are areas in our community that need to be cleaned up, like Councilor Deitch said. I would love to see that 1950s, 1960s mentality come back where we help out our neighbor, because it's easier to help out your neighbor than call the fire chief to come and ticket your neighbor. And I think that slowly but surely we need to have a culture change where we have to start helping out our neighbor. And I do share your concerns. I don't, at this point, know how we can fix it. I do know that it takes time. I know that we're working on a culture change to try to be a cleaner community, try to do more. We've been working with our past city council, started the community cleanup under Councillor Jacksaw, and I know that the Blight Committee has continued those efforts. We have a lot of good things going for us right now. Sometimes we don't see it. I don't know, not trying to make a big, long speech about it, but, you know, we're losing Kmart as Councillor Kraus had brought up, and that's going to be a huge hurt for our community. But, man, for a while there, it seemed like everyone hated Kmart. Now that they're gone, now you see it right what's in front of your face. And some of my earliest memories were going to Kmart to buy Nintendo games. And we have a lot of good things going. And Kmart here in our community was one of the more profitable ones they have. And I think that that's a huge asset that we have as we start searching for somebody else to come in. And we do need to have a clean community. So as businesses come in and see that there's opportunity here in International Falls, we have the Highway 53 project that's coming next year. We have a lot of challenges ahead of us, but with that being said, we also have a lot of opportunity in our small town. So I appreciate your concerns, and I think that that's something we can look at. But instead of worrying about the grass right now, maybe we should start worrying about snow removal and stuff, and getting some information out for people as we get into the next season on what our expectations are for snow removal, sidewalks and stuff like that. Start gearing up for the next season, and then in winter we'll figure out how we're going to fix some of the stuff that we had this summer that we need to get better. We've gotten better at the bass tournament, as I understand it, with the vendors and stuff, and that came from Councillor Buller being part of the bass tournament. And we have so many great things going on. We're making small changes for the good, and slowly but surely we're going to be that community that everyone wants to be, as we have it in our immediately pending comprehensive plan. We're going to be that city of destiny that they were looking at long ago. So we do have a lot of positives. We have some things that we have to look over, but I think as a general rule, we're doing pretty good.
Very good. Thank you. I would just like to shout out a thank you to the organizers of the Labor Day picnic. I thought it was another successful event in the community, and certainly agree with Councillor Droba. Our organizations are alive and well, and really helping to make our community better. So more of that would be welcome. Further to come before the council and committees or boards and commissions. If not, anyone in the audience that wishes to approach the council at this time? And seeing no one, remind you, I guess we should have an approval if there's anyone that wishes to attend the 2019 League of Minnesota Cities regional meetings, and the closest one to here is Chisholm. So if you're of a mind to maybe attend, we should have a motion to approve the expense.
Anybody going to attend?
I think I'd like to try, but I can't promise. I think I don't remember what date.
October 3rd.
3rd? Okay.
That's the best I got, is I would like to attend, but I don't know if I would be able to at this time.
I'm in the same boat. But I make a motion.
Okay, motion by Councillor Kraus. Second by Councillor Buller to allow expenses for city council and staff to attend the League of Minnesota Cities meeting in Chisholm. Discussion? Question?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
I would vote yes. Thank you. Motion is carried, and travel and expense are approved. Thank you. Next regular city council meeting will be Monday, September the 16th at 4:30 p.m. Nothing further to come before the council this time. We'll stand adjourned. Thank you.